There is a specific weight. Not heavy, not light. Exactly right. The way a hand feels when someone you trust holds it. Cool metal warming slowly against your wrist. The faint mechanical whisper only you can hear when the room goes quiet. That small, almost imperceptible resistance when you lift your arm, and gravity pulls the case just slightly downward. You notice that. Not everyone does. Most people check the time and look away. But you feel it settle. You feel when it's there, and when it isn't. And on the days you forget it at home, something sits wrong in your chest the entire morning. Not everyone notices it, but you do. And the fact that you do, that's actually the beginning of what we need to talk about today. Here's what most people assume, that naming a watch, calling it Margot or the Admiral, or Old Reliable, or whatever quiet name lives only in your own head, is just a quirk. Eccentric. Sentimental in that harmless, slightly embarrassing way. It isn't. What you're doing, without perhaps knowing the clinical name for it, is practicing what psychologist Russell Belk called material self-extension. The idea, first formalized in 1988, is that human beings don't experience the boundary of self as ending at the skin. We extend our identity outward, into homes, into clothes, into objects we have chosen, held, repaired, carried, objects that have witnessed us. And when that extension is strong enough, when an object has absorbed enough of your history, your rituals, your private moments, you stop relating to it as a thing. You relate to it the way you relate to a person, which means the name isn't the strange part. The name is just the moment you finally admitted what had already been true for a long time. You have a routine with it. You probably don't call it a routine, but it exists. You put it on in a specific order, crown side in, or case first, then buckle. You don't think about it anymore. Your hands just know. You set it down in the same spot at night. Maybe you wind it before bed. That small, deliberate turning that feels less like a chore and more like tending to something. When someone asks to try it on, you let them. But you watch. You notice if they hold the case carelessly. You notice if they don't notice how it feels. And you've probably caught yourself talking about it to someone who doesn't care and stopping mid-sentence because you suddenly heard how you sounded. That mid-sentence stop, that's worth paying attention to. Here's what psychology tells us about why objects become this meaningful, and it has nothing to do with materialism. Human memory is not stored the way we think it is. It doesn't live in the mind alone. It lives in the body, in muscle memory, in the specific weight of a familiar object in your hand. Neuroscience calls this embodied cognition. The idea that thinking and feeling are not just brain events, they're physical ones. When you wind the watch your father left you, you are not just maintaining a mechanism. Your nervous system is retrieving him. The pressure of your fingers on the crown is a sensory bookmark to a time, a person, a version of yourself that would otherwise be very hard to reach. Objects like these function as what developmental psychologist D.W. Winnicott called transitional objects. A concept he developed studying children, but which never actually stops applying. A transitional object is something that holds identity stable during change. Children use a blanket. Adults use many things, but the ones we name tend to be the ones doing the most psychological work. The name is not affectation. The name is a sign that this object is holding something for you, something you don't want to lose. There is a deeper question underneath all of this. It's the question of continuity, of whether the person you were at 22, the one who bought that watch with 3 months of savings, or received it from hands that are no longer here, or strapped it on the morning of something that changed everything, is still you. We change. Constantly, radically, in ways that can feel like loss. Opinions shift. Relationships end. The face in the mirror looks like someone your younger self would find interesting, but not quite recognize. And in the middle of all that flux, there is this object, unchanged, still ticking with the same motion it had the day you first wound it, still settling onto your wrist with the same familiar weight. Psychologists studying identity across time talk about what they call narrative self-continuity, the ongoing story a person tells to connect who they were to who they are. Most people construct that story through memory alone. You have built yours partly into metal and glass. That's not a crutch. That is an unusually sophisticated form of self-knowledge. There are people who relate to objects differently, who buy a watch because it tells time, wear it until the battery dies, and replace it without a second thought. Who, if asked what watch they'd want nearby at the end of their life, would not immediately know the answer. These are not cold people. They're often warm, generous, fully alive. They hold their continuity in other ways, in relationships, in places, in ideas. They travel lighter. They let go more easily. They don't spend 3 minutes in the morning tending to something mechanical and calling it, privately, by name. Neither is wrong, but they are very different kinds of people, and they move through the world differently. There is something that people with a deep relationship to objects tend to understand, not because they read it somewhere, but because they've lived it slowly, with their hands. They understand that attention is a form of love, not grand attention, not expensive attention, the small, daily, unremarkable kind. The kind that says, I notice you're here. I notice how you feel. I am not moving through this moment too quickly to register that you exist. Most people have to lose something, a person, a place, a version of themselves, before they understand that presence is not guaranteed, before they understand that the things worth keeping require tending. You already know this. You knew it the first time you wound the crown and felt the faint resistance give way to smooth rotation. You knew it the morning you reached for your wrist and found it bare, and felt, briefly, like something in you had gone quiet. You knew it when you gave it a name, because something in you recognized that this small, mechanical, utterly replaceable object had become irreplaceable. And that knowledge, the knowledge that ordinary things can hold extraordinary meaning, that care given to small things is not small, that the rituals you repeat in private are quietly shaping who you are. That knowledge is not a quirk, it is a philosophy, and most people spend an entire lifetime trying to arrive at it.